All right, we're on.
All right, good evening and Happy New Year, everyone. As we start the January 6, 2021 meeting, organizational meeting, I call this meeting to order and call roll. Ryan Rivers.
Here.
Ben Grumbles.
Here.
Deborah Triento.
Here.
Our first order of business is appointing a chairperson for the Board of Trustees. I would like to open the floor for nominations.
I nominate Trustee Grumbles as chairman.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Ms. Triento?
Yes.
Okay, then I will then move on to opening the floor for nominations for vice chair.
Anyone have a particular interest in serving as vice chair?
I'd be happy to.
Trustee Rivers? I think some, okay, I don't know if he's on mute. Make a motion to elect Trustee Taranto as vice chairperson of the Board of Trustees for the calendar year 2021.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
All right, Ben, the meeting is yours.
That means we're on 21003, correct?
We are. Thank you for that.
So from a liaison standpoint, I know in the past I've had maintenance and parks, Trustee Taranto's had safety, Trustee Rivers has had zoning and OTOC. Is there a desire to make changes there?
I had told Andrew, and I believe he passed my email on to you. I don't really see a point in the liaisons anymore. They've kind of gotten away from their original intent, and trustees always moved around each year to a different position, to keep up to date with all the different departments and relationships. And I just don't feel we really utilized it that way. So I don't really have an interest in pursuing the liaisons anymore personally.
I
I'd
think
like to work with each department.
as Orange continues to grow, I could see us getting to a place where we no longer need the liaison roles. However, I feel like with a lot of the big projects and things that we've invested in here in the last 24 months, there are some things that I would like to see through. So I think we stay the course for this year. Then after this year, if we want to consider changing the structure, I'd be open to, but I like to keep the current roles that I've had for 21.
And just to be clear, I intend to continue working with each and every department. Being a liaison doesn't make it so that you're the only trustee that can work with that particular department. I would like to think that we're all on the same page with that. Whatever, like I talk to a lot of residents, and if they want me to work on something for them, whether it's a department that I was a liaison to or not, I certainly intend to do that.
No, I would agree, but I would think just as far as from a staff and having a point contact on the board, And like, I can't see us getting to a point where we need to restructure this, but like I said, I think it makes sense for this year.
So I would like to keep the liaison. I thought about this after I got the email. I would like to keep them more for staff purpose. Just because I think if you do away with them and I agree we're in more of a transitional time right now. If you do away with them with work in process, it creates a situation where department heads, it may create a little bit of going backwards, but also additional work in that, who do I notify and how do I be mindful of open meeting requirements? And if, for example, when we went to look at roundabouts, when the complaint surfaced, and I know initially it surfaced, I believe, through you, Trustee Taranto, and so we set up a meeting to go look. Mr. Cowan contacted myself as his liaison, and we were set up to go look. And prior to that, even though we didn't make it due to COVID, one of the attendees came down with COVID, so we canceled the meeting. I still went out and looked at it, and we were able to converse remotely in preparation for our meeting. So if we didn't have the liaison role and one board member went over the others, I could see that leading to confusion or, just putting the staff in a position that might be more consistent with the past that we're not quite healed from yet. But I think we're on the right path. But I do agree with you, Trustee Taranto, in that each of us as board members should consistently engage department heads in each department and be informed in that regard. And if residents share concern, my hope is that we would notify Andrew as the administrator, Mr. King, and the appropriate department head, and that those department heads would in turn inform or notify their liaison just from an awareness standpoint. And I don't think it's necessary that they only work with a liaison, et cetera. For example, I worked with Michelle on the overlay because her and I had spoken, and there were specific components of that I was aware of and that I was helping with, and we had a call and a couple hour dialogue, and that was fine. I didn't feel like that undermined Trustee Rivers at all. And it was things that each of us bring to the table I was specifically concerned with from a leadership perspective more than anything. So, I think we each have unique traits that complement each other. And if we add our value where we can, it'll all work well if we stay engaged, to your point. So with that, are we okay staying the course with the current allocations, I guess you call them, assignments? Is that fair? Is there any objection?
I'm fine with it.
That's fine.
Okay. I'll make a motion to pass resolution 21-003 that Trustee Grumbles serve as trustee liaison to the Orange Township Maintenance and Parks Department for calendar year 2021.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Make a motion to pass resolution 21-004 that Trustee Taranto serve as trustee liaison to the Orange Township Fire Department and the Delaware County Sheriff's Department for the calendar year 2021.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Make a motion to pass resolution 21-005 that Trustee Rivers serve as trustee liaison to the zoning office for calendar year 2021.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
A motion to pass resolution 21-006. Trustee Rivers serve as trustee liaison to the Orange Township Outreach and Communications Committee for calendar year 2021.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Okay, that brings us to regional planning. Ms. Bonnie, assuming you don't object to maintaining your position with the regional planning?
Then I do not object, and I have also talked to Mr. Jeff Beard about it as well.
Okay. Make a motion to pass resolution 21-007, appointing Michelle Bonnie as Orange Township representative to the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission for 2021.
Mr. Rivers, or Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Make a motion to pass resolution 21-008, appointing Jeff Beard as Orange Township's alternate representative to the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission for 2021.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Okay, brings us to the Records Commission. Can, Michelle, can you go up slightly? Okay, so I'm gonna make sure I'm on the right resolution still. Make a motion to pass resolution 21-009 to appoint chairperson of the Board of Trustees of Orange Township, the Township Fiscal Officer, and the Township Administrator as our Records Commission for calendar year 21.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Has this historically been the chair as well? Are there any objections to the highlighted? How about that? As I read through these, before I read through them, okay? Trustee Taranto, are you okay?
Yes.
Okay. Make a motion to approve resolution 21-010 to appoint Trustee Grumbles as the Orange Township representative on the Enterprise Zone Committee for calendar year 2021.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-011 to appoint Andrew King as Orange Township's alternate representative on the Enterprise Zone Committee for calendar year 2021.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Have we spoken with the OTOC representatives that are up for reelection about their desire to stay on or willingness to stay on?
We have the two that are up, I believe, are Shauna Espy and Ann Bagaski. Is that right?
I thought there were, yeah, I thought there might be,
Normally their names would be in there.
yeah, I thought there were three of them, and they're, yep, Tony Benachek as well.
Normally the administrator would reach out to them and ask them.
So we probably want to table this then until the next meeting if we can.
Yeah. And I'm just checking here. Yeah, those three members. That is correct.
Okay, so I guess we'll table that. I have, and Mr. King, are you comfortable reaching out to them?
Sure, absolutely no problem.
Okay, and if we're able to get an answer somehow, if anything, Michelle, if you don't mind, just peeking every once in a while to see if anyone's pending or trying to chime in, it may be one of those three or all three, and we can revisit after the rest of the business is taken care of. All right. Going down to the next order of business. Employee paid holidays. Are there any concerns or talking points here? Hearing none, I make a motion to pass resolution 21-012 for employee paid holidays for calendar year 2021.
Second?
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
And department heads, I looked through this earlier, just making sure everyone's clear on the Christmas Eve highlighted portion. Please make sure that you go through that with your associates and staff. Okay. Business office hours. Staying with our standard office hours. I assume there's no objections. Make a motion to pass resolution 21-013, approving the business office hours for Orange Township, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m., except for legal holidays and other announced closed days.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Okay, now with the meeting schedule, I know we had talked about retaining the 6 p.m. meetings. Is that, I saw this and was a bit surprised. Is that, are we reverting back to 10 a.m. now, or are we going to stay the course with the 6 p.m.?
Yeah, I thought the question was as far as if we were going to stay on Monday nights, and if we're moving off of Monday nights at 6 p.m., what nights are available that won't be a zoning conflict?
Would there be a reason why you would want to move off Monday nights?
Just from our last discussion, our last meeting, I thought there was a general consensus that, with Mondays and with our staff and being prepared, that changing it to maybe a midweek might be easier.
Yeah, I mean, this is Lisa. I know Mondays are crazy in the office. That's why I know I was a supporter of that change if that's discussed, just because it just seems like there's a lot of last minute things that over the weekend that pop up or get done that try to get added to the agenda at the last minute.
Or we're waiting on a partner or vendor. For example, the agenda comes out and it's on a Monday, and we can have a few days to review it when everyone's open versus a Thursday or Friday and people are checked out for the weekend. So,
Which is why we had Wednesday as the deadline. And I noticed in the last year that it does seem to be chaotic, even with Wednesday as the deadline. I think if we honored that and stuck to it, then they have Thursday, Friday. We were going to discuss the times. We talked about the staff working long days, 8 a.m. to sometimes 9, 10 o'clock. I hope that our meetings will be efficient and 2 hours or less. I think we all do better on that. Gets much later than that, then you're not working at optimum. Those are some of the things that we had talked about.
Well, if I may, trustees, I mean, one of the things that I would like to see is perhaps if we're going to stick with those 10 a.m. meetings is use those as the opportunity for the staff to come be present, talk about big projects, answer questions and whatnot. And, since we're using a lot more of the consent agenda, is to try with those 6 p.m. meetings to focus on some of the things that the board has interest in, dealing with a lot of things through the consent agenda. But, if we want a specific department head to come and present, that way it allows focus on a particular topic or a particular issue. So, I just throwing that out there is that I could see some benefit if we can, and I'll take responsibility for trying to get it done, to try to have the department heads available to give, updates and reports at that 10 a.m. meeting on a regular basis. So I could see some benefit in continuing that practice.
Yeah, I'm fine with if we wanted to try to just have the staff reports at one meeting per month versus having everyone at both meetings. But yeah, I was under the impression we were moving everything to 6. I think that's what we had done last year. So,
And just this was Val's first time doing it. So she took what Marianne had done in the past, and then Marianne was having computer problems most of this week. So I know that they had difficulties actually talking. So what you see in a lot of this is the template that Marianne used last year and gave to Val. So, we can certainly be changed, but that's why I'm quite certain it looks the way it does.
So I'm okay with staff participation and that kind of thing, and we can break the meetings up regardless of time if we want to try and develop a pattern. But I do think 6 p.m. provides a more realistic forum for resident engagement consistently. And even though we're virtual, and I expect we'll be for some time, one of the goals this year I hope we can reach is to find a more interactive way for folks to participate, consistent with the resolutions passed and with speaking times and that kind of thing on agenda topics. So it's a little easier and less complicated to have them participate in the meeting, because I know there are folks that do like to participate. So I think that 6 p.m. is probably, I would favor that. And I know we talked about it prior. If we need to maneuver so that staff have proper offset, I've brought that up repeatedly. And I know, Mr. King, we talked about it several times, including today. And I spoke with both Mr. Cowan and Miss Bonnie about it in person this week as well. Just again, so part of the salary exempt type role is understanding, owning your position and striking a balance. And I am fine with ensuring we do that as long as they can commit to doing it. And I talked to Captain Rice about it today as well. And I know with the fire department, it's a bit different with their hours already. So I would prefer we do 6 p.m. I'm indifferent as far as day of the week. We can always change to what was it? There was a conflict on one of the days with predominantly zoning, correct?
Trustee Grumbles, Tuesday and Thursdays are mostly.
Okay. So that's why we landed on Wednesdays at 6, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so is there any objection to giving Wednesdays a try? And if it turns out to be a problem, we would revert back to Mondays, or do you want to do every other and really complicated, or how do you want to do this?
I can do Mondays or Tuesdays.
So Michelle, that would be a problem for you, right? What time are your zoning meetings?
Our zoning meetings are at 7, and they are the first, second, and fourth Tuesday of the month. So, I mean, I could revisit. I can ask the zoning commission to change the time. It just, I would need to present that to the board or the commission members.
Right.
In Trustee Grumbles, I'd had a conversation with Patty Lewis and Val recently, and because we were looking at the agenda policy and whatnot. So I think going forward, one of my goals for the year is to work with the department heads to try to be thinking not just, hey, what do I need to get in Wednesday for the upcoming meeting, but what do I need 2 weeks from now or next month, and try to playing a little bit ahead. So, again, sort of what I was saying earlier too, like I can try to do a better job with Val and my staff of making Mondays a little less turbulent.
Okay. Well, and I will say too, as far as the agenda is going out, having staff working remote, they were going out typically on Fridays just because of the staff that was in the building on Fridays versus Wednesday, Thursday for the last years, kind of how that routine came about.
All right, so it sounds like Mondays at 6 p.m. And I think if we stay with Monday, it's also beneficial because that's the day historically with residents they're used to. And it will be one less change that we have to communicate out to the constituents. And I think that's always minimal change is best with that in that regard.
And I will add, it does make for a long day for staff. When we have these evening meetings. So that was, I think the original thought was having the 10 a.m. be more of a staff meeting. So that just to me makes sense if the boards would consider maybe having just one staff report a month, keep the meetings at 6, but reduce it from 2 meetings to 1. Something we try as a compromise.
Meaning that the directors and such wouldn't attend one meeting?
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that. If the agenda and all of the items and everything are prepared, I think we should be able to navigate without having to force them to attend. The other thing is on the meetings that we have on Mondays where they're slated to attend, I would suggest that we consider, and Mr. King, really for you, a delayed start potentially, or either that Monday or the following Tuesday. I know Michelle's going to have a long Tuesday anyway with zoning, some sort of offset that I've seen in private practice and even in the federal government that we've used where folks just start time if that's allowable or feasible, I guess.
I think they use comp time.
Or comp time, just throwing out options. We talked about comp time as well. I just have a concern that they get busy and feel, they find it difficult to genuinely use their comp time. I want to make sure that they do it.
Well, Trustee, and I've mentioned this to the department heads, and I mentioned it to you today. I think one of the goals with the updating the policy manual with Sharon was to put before the board the option for our salaried exempt, overtime exempt employees to get credit or comp time when they do work more than a 40-hour a week, which they don't now. So that is one of the things I anticipate putting before the board as a consideration. It sounds like there might be already support for that, which is great to hear. So when we get that policy in place, we can certainly do that. I think the CBIZ system is set up to accommodate that. What I'll continue to do with the board's support is allow the staff to flex. I think the current system allows them to say, hey, I want to leave early Thursday because I want to go to this event, or I want to leave early Friday to go drive back home to be with my family or whatever. So, I'll talk to the department heads again on a regular meeting and make sure that there's not a feeling to the contrary. But I think we can continue to sort of do the flexing and make that work. But I will inquire again.
That sounds good, and that's what we do in the federal government. Just for what it's worth, it's exactly what you described. So that's perfect. Michelle, you mind scrolling up a little bit? I want to make sure I capture all of this. I think we're at a point. Okay. So
Trustee Grumbles, can I just make one comment since I know we had zoning commission yesterday, and the commission members want to ensure that the evening meetings would hold the zoning hearings would only be in the evening meetings. And if the only issue with the 10 a.m. meetings, given the timing of when the applications come to the trustees, it might fall as it might come to, or how do I say this? When it comes to the trustees, given the timing, you have to have so many days that you have to act on it. It could fall during the 10 a.m. time. I'd like to ask the trustees if they would ever consider doing a special hearing to have it in the evenings.
I think we're going to move all the meetings to 6 p.m. So I think that
I'm sorry.
That'll be resolved.
I apologize.
I was just, and then Trustee Rivers, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'll need to read this resolution in its entirety. Is that correct?
I'd probably be best to read all the dates. All the dates should be correct because we're staying on Monday. It's just the only difference is the 10 a.m. times and the templates should be 6 p.m.
All right. And then as soon as you scroll up again, I'll start reading. Make the motion to pass resolution 21-014 in the matter of establishing a reasonable method whereby the public may determine the time and place of all regularly scheduled meetings of the board and the time, place, and purpose of all special and emergency meetings of the board. The Board of Trustees, Orange Township, Delaware County, Ohio, met in open session, the annual organizational meeting on the 6th of January, 2021. Approving the dates for the meetings for 2021 as follows. Is that fair?
Yep. And Michelle, if you could scroll down a little bit for us.
Yeah, before you go too far, and we could change it later, but traditionally, we add one at the end of June and we skip the one around the 4th of July. I don't know if you
That's
want
fair.
to worry
Yep.
about it.
No, I'm in the middle of reading it, but if I can zoom out here, let me exit full screen, and then I think. So in June, we have 5 Mondays, but we've already got it situated in a way that with 5, we can't really add an additional meeting. But what we could do in July, well, that'll mess everything up.
I mean, just to throw out there, Trustee, if the board wants a special meeting, they can always call a special meeting and we can always put whatever's on the agenda. So just throwing it out there. If
Let's
it gets
do
too
that
hard,
and then just strike July 6th altogether, and then we'll just have a special meeting if we need it. Is that fair?
Works for me.
Okay.
Make the last one in June really full.
Big meeting in June. Okay. Do you want to just move the June meetings so that why don't we do that? Why don't we just move the June meetings so that they are the 14th and 28th? And that way
it have a long lapse between May and June. I was going to say just keep them the same, and then we've got the last meeting. We got one meeting in July, and then we can do a special meeting between June 21st and July 19th.
Yeah, May is that special month that has the 6 Mondays, or sorry, 5 Mondays as well. So
I like Andrew's idea. If just keep
the
everything.
special meeting, keep it consistent.
Yeah, take out the July one, and if we need to get together, we can.
You got it. Okay. All regularly scheduled meetings of the board held in 2021 shall be held in accordance with the following schedule. All meetings will be held at 6 p.m. January 6th, January 19th, February 1st, February 16th, March 1st, March 15th, April 5th, April 19th, May 3rd, May 17th, June 7th, June 21st, July 19th, August 2nd, August 16th, September 7th, September 20th, October 4th, October 18th, November 1st, November 15th, December 6th, and December 20th.
Second.
The place of the meeting will be Orange Township Hall, 1680 East Orange Road, Lewis Center, Ohio. being held virtually at this time. The fiscal officer shall immediately publish the above time, days, dates, and place of all regularly scheduled meetings one time in the Delaware Gazette, a newspaper of general circulation in the township. The fiscal officer shall also continually post the above time, dates, days, and place of all regularly scheduled meetings in at least one prominent public location in the township hall and at least one prominent public location in any other location where the board regularly holds meetings and or conducts business, if any, and if the board maintains a township website or subsequently establishes a township website on the township's website. Any person upon request made to the fiscal officer may obtain reasonable advance notification of all meetings at which any specific type of public business is to be discussed. Advance notification shall be provided in any reasonably requested manner to include but not limited to providing notice and the agenda by email sent to an email address provided by the requester, or physically mailing the notice and agenda to the requester and or all subscribers on the mailing list provided by the requester. If physical mailing of the notice and agenda requested, the requester shall provide the fiscal officer a sufficient quantity of self-addressed stamped envelopes bearing sufficient postage to mail the requested notice and agenda. The fiscal officer shall maintain a list of all persons requesting such notification. The fiscal officer shall maintain a separate list of news media requesting notification of meetings where the purpose of a regular meeting is a type for which person or the news media has requested notification. The fiscal officer shall provide advance notice to such requesting persons in a manner requested and to the news media in writing. The fiscal officer shall provide notice of the time, place, and purpose of all special meetings of the board as follows. Provide at least 24 hours advance notice in writing to the news media that if requested notifications where the purpose of the meeting is a type of which for which a person has requested notification, provide advance notice to such requesting persons in the manner requested. Prominently post advance notice of the meeting on the door of the township hall or other location where the meeting is to be held. The board specifically requests notice be published. Published notifications is directed by the board. If the board maintains a township website or subsequently establishes a township website, post notice on the website. Any member or members of the board calling an emergency meeting of the board shall immediately provide a notice of the time, place, and purpose as follows. Provide notice in writing to the news media that have requested notification and where the purpose of the meeting is a type of which a person has requested notification. Provide the requesting persons in the manner requested. Promptly post notice on the meeting on the door of the township hall or other location where the meeting is to be held. If the board maintains a township website or establishes a township website, post the meeting on the township's website. Meeting is canceled, the fiscal officer shall provide notice of the cancellation by posting a notice of the cancellation on the door of the hall or location where it's held. The board maintains a township website. It should be posted on the website. All formal actions of the board concerning and relating to passage of the resolution were adopted in an open meeting of the board, and all deliberations of this board and of any of its committees that resulted in formal action were in meetings open to the public in compliance with all legal requirements. This resolution will be in full force and effect immediately upon adoption.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
We're on 15. Okay, gov deals. Resolution 21-015. Make the motion to pass resolution 21-015 of intent to sell by internet auction personal property, including motor vehicles, road machinery, equipment, tools, or supplies that is not needed for public use, is obsolete or unfit for use for which it was acquired.
Second.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto.
Yes.
Right. Are there any discussion points or concerns that would require we go to executive session or otherwise regarding the proposed 2% wage increase? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 21-016, approval of wage rate increase at 2%.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
And Mr. King, I know we had a note regarding the wage rate increase that was specific to one individual. How would you like to discuss that?
So just Ms. Kraft, I know you and I talked about talking about it again and we never did. So did you have any thoughts on the financial amount?
No, I did not get an answer back from Patty.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't know what that number is.
Okay. I mean, I guess I don't really have anything else to add other than what the board already considered. I can, I mean, if the board would like more information about it, and if the board would like to discuss it, we can always make an additional, we can always issue an additional check if the board wants to reconsider it at a future time. But I think I set forth what the situation was and what the decision that was in front of the board as a general purpose. But like I said, I'm happy to get more information if that would lead to a feeling of better, more thorough decision making.
Are there any objections from board members to approving the request at this time?
I feel like I'm out of the loop here.
Mr. King sent us an email. We had a recently separated employee, and she requested that.
Okay. I'm sorry. I was okay with that.
Yeah, I'm okay with it too. I had a couple of inquiries and talked through those with Mr. King, and felt like for somebody that dedicated that much time,
Absolutely.
I think it's a fair thing to do. And given that in precedent, this was handled in the prior year, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. So I think we owe it to her to see it through. So.
Okay, well, the only thing I would ask for the board, just so we can note it, is just consensus to add her name to the resolution there.
Yes.
So that we can make the appropriate change.
I can, amending a previous motion, I can just read the resolution again, correct?
I think you
Or
just
make a
need
motion
consensus.
to amend?
I think you just need a consensus.
I mean, really, at the end of the day, we're just making a consensus for one person to receive the 2% wage increase effective at the beginning, this pay period.
So I give my consent to add Brenda Church to the approved wage rate increase list for resolution 21-016.
I consent.
I agree.
Thank you, board.
And did we establish an effective date for that resolution 21-016?
Effective, it should be effective the first for 2021, right? So it'd be effective the first pay period, right?
Right. And correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Kraft, but it would be 12/31 was the first day of the first 2021 pay period. So it'd be December 31st, 2021.
December 30th?
30th.
December 30th, 2020.
Yes. Let me check that, but I'm 99% sure it's the 30th.
Then why don't we write the motion to be effective the first pay period of fiscal 2021?
Perfect.
Calendar.
I can do that.
Okay. Instead of December 30th. That way it's not date specific.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Make a motion to approve resolution 21-07, authorizing the township fiscal officer to make reallocations within a fund when necessary in order to prepare warrants.
Second,
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-018, the 2021 mileage rate, to establish it at the IRS standard mileage rate of 56 cents per mile.
Second,
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto.
yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-019, establishing cemetery fees for 2021 consistent with the cemetery fee schedule on file.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-020, establishing salaries and method of compensation for trustees and the fiscal officer. That annual salaries for the trustees and fiscal officer will be paid in equal monthly payments in accordance with the Ohio Revised Code.
Second,
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-021, the 2021 pay period schedule consistent with the pay period schedule on file in the fiscal office.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-022, the request for advance of real estate tax collections.
Second,
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-023, accepting inventory reports as annual inventory and directing the township administrator to file copies with the township fiscal officer.
Second,
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
All right. So for the consent agenda, I don't think we have. .026 on that one, or is that a separate one? Just 24 and 25?
Yeah, there's no C.
And then I know with the then and now purchase orders, were those, if you scroll down, were those legal bills previously approved, but now we're sending the check, or are those new?
If you remember, those were, they may have been previously approved at a meeting. That's a great question. Todd probably wouldn't have been aware of that. But I don't think they have. I think these were all just missed payments, basically.
Those are the ones that we had to catch up on, correct?
You got it.
Okay, and I know Trustee Taranto, historically, you've made exception with the Eastman and Smith. Is that consistent this time?
Yeah, we probably should remove that. And if I could get a second trustee to agree, I'm done with the redacted invoices. Andrew did send them this last time, which was nice. But I don't see any reason, when I get the backup, it would be nice to have unredacted invoices.
So can we just by default send unredacted invoices to the board members from now on? Is that fair?
I think that's what we've been doing, correct?
So,
No, I've had to
What-
ask for them pretty much up until this last time.
so if the way that Eastman viewed it, and I mean, they put a little bit more detail in their invoices than I've seen, like with Isaac Wiles. So their concern was that the information that they put into the work field would potentially be privileged information. So if it goes into the backup material.
No,
the
I'm not
township
suggesting
has-
backups. I'm suggesting that it's sent in a separate email to just the board.
And that's what I did this last November. I mean, as Trustee Taranto mentioned, she'd been asking for them and I'd been sending it to her, but then it came up at the last meeting that there was concern about that process. So I just sent it to everyone this time. So I can work with Val to make sure we continue to do that. So, I mean,
Yeah, that's perfect.
Also, Ben, I'd like to remove the 10-year master plan out of the consent agenda.
Okay.
That kind of-
So, okay, so there is,
And before we go any further on the agenda, it looks like, do we skip over a few zoning matters? Because I think those were missing from the template.
I saw zoning in the template that I looked at earlier today. Maybe not this
I
template.
think those are, Trustee Rivers, I think those were moved under zoning report. Let me-
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah, I thought I saw them on there at the bot after the consent agenda. We handled the first of year stuff and then consent agenda, and then it moves into departmental.
Gotcha.
So then we'll have 24. If you scroll down again, we'll handle everything, and we'll have to do 25 for Eastman and Smith. And then 26 will approve, or should we just do 26 for Eastman and Smith, I guess? And then 27 will deal with Brandstetter and Carroll, if that's accurate. Is that fair, Ms. Kraft?
Yep.
Okay. And then one other request on the agenda for legal services, since everything's account specific, for sake of transparency, can we add legal services and in parentheses put if there's a specific department? So for example, it would be legal services general, legal services zoning, legal services employment matters, legal services. Does that make sense?
Sure, and I can, if
Parts.
you have questions on these, I can tell you 130, 1000-130 is zoning, 2191 is fire, that 13,714.90 is fire. The $57 is admin, as well as the 17,482.
Okay, and then that will help us when we're looking at redactions to.
Yep. I'll do
Wait.
that. We'll include that going forward.
I appreciate that.
Uh-huh.
Okay. We're on 24. Make the motion to approve the consent agenda resolution 21-024 as
Second,
amended.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-025, approving, I guess I should have done 21-024 and 025, correct? When I announced that?
Yes, as amended.
Approving the consent agenda for then and now purchase orders and blanket purchase orders as listed.
Second,
Okay, Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto.
But this is Eastman Smith, correct?
No,
Yeah.
we've taken Eastman and Smith out. That's the amended part.
So I'm sorry, which part are we doing now?
The then and now purchase orders outside of Eastman and Smith. So water, sewer, advertising, and service
you-
for,
But you did amend the master plan.
I said as amended, yes, when I read it. So
Yes.
make a motion to approve resolution 21-026, approving Eastman and Smith expenses, legal services.
second,
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Tranto,
No.
Mr. Rivers.
yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-027, approving the 10-year master plan for parks with Brandstetter and Carroll.
If we could
Second.
talk about that, please.
Okay. And one thing, Ms. Kraft or Ms. Bonnie, whoever's taking notes, make sure that it's 21-026.
Yeah,
So
I
what-
just sent that so you could have an example of the language that's associated when you pull those out.
Okay, thank you.
So, no problem.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to keep up.
Nope, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure we'll sign our names and checks and everything, I'm sure 100 times with whiteout, so it's no problem.
Okay, so we just got this agreement on Monday. And so I haven't had a whole lot of time to review it. I see a lot of redundancy that we just accomplished in the comprehensive land use plan, also in Dude Solutions, I believe. Demographic analysis, previous, let's see. All of the facility inventory, parks, open space facilities inventory. Did not Dude Solutions also do that?
Bill can chime in here too. So, I mean, what Dude Solutions was focused on primarily were the things that had sort of a capital life cycle, such as the equipment. So like at 1680, they came in and they barcode tagged a whole bunch of different things, like each HVAC system, all that sort of stuff. They put all the vehicles in there. They put all the equipment in there. I do think that they went out and Bill was there to help them with this. I know that with the couple of the parks buildings that had bathrooms, that they did, I believe, do some sort of assessment of that. But as I recall, the individual like fields and shelters and stuff like that, they didn't really do an assessment of. And then more than just a bare bones assessment of its current state, the park's master plan would make an assessment, and Bill, please correct me if I'm wrong here, would make an assessment as to what facilities are being used, which aren't, where we might need more of, where, maybe we don't have enough bathrooms in one place. So it's making more of a qualitative suggestion than it is a assessment of where the state of a particular object or item is. Is that accurate, Bill, or am I misstating?
No, I think your statement's right on. The Dude solution, like you mentioned, is more of a long-term planning tool for roof repairs, maintenance items, where we can budget, set money aside. And the master plan, as Andrew said, was highlight areas where the community may want to see some different things, and just other eyes on the parks. And again, this is park specific. The master plan, 10-year master plan, is strictly parks. You mentioned the township master plan. Parks is part of that. Parks is, I get not part, but I should say a big part of it, but not in the detail that would be offered by the 10-year master plan.
I can see your points there. I will say that that's a sticker shock.
Mhm.
I don't believe we've ever paid that much for a master plan. And we didn't appropriate for that. And we have a lot of projects this year that we're working on. It seems like this is something maybe we should plan for the next year. It's not really in his budget. He's really cutting it close with his budget. I'm not really comfortable. The price is really too high.
I think the last plan was updated in 2008. I know it's on the website.
We actually
So
did
it's-
another one. I believe it was before. They never did anything with it, though, unfortunately. They didn't care for how it was done. But
No.
again,
Well,
this isn't
I-
appropriated for, and Bill is literally down to the wire in his budget.
So, Bill, let me ask you a question. The price breakdown was 4 phases: the evaluate, engage, envision, and plan, right? And each of those has a specific fee schedule. I would assume that we're not paying them in bulk before the work is produced. Is that correct?
monthly.
Oh, no,
They-
it should come as each phase is completed.
So what is the timeline, and maybe it's in the agreement that I overlooked, what is the timeline expected for each of those phases? Is there established maybe, is it push us into the next year anyway, naturally? I imagine it'll be pretty tight, especially with remote work. It's going to be I didn't see if there was a projected completion time here.
No, I know the phases aren't broken out in time. I'm not aware of a specific time. I did have a conversation over the phone with the gentleman who sent the proposal, something that would be completed this year. Talked about rolling into the early summer, late summer for completion. So.
Okay.
And I would just add my support to what Bill's trying to do here. I think, as Trustee Rivers said, that, the current plan that I've seen is a little bit dated. It doesn't account for everything. We did get some feedback this year, and I know I sort of highlighted a few things for the board in a recent email about that. And I think, my sense going through some of that survey data is it would be good to have a professional come in and give advice on how to reconcile some of those different requests and those different interests, and give us a way forward to move forward on some of those things, and then use their expertise to maybe through, as you saw, some of the plan involved, like the committee and engagement of the community and all that kind of stuff, to maybe really hone in on some of those specifics to make sure that Orange is really getting what is providing what the residents want.
Yeah, I see value in all sides here, because with what we're paying for park investments this year, even if they came back and told us they see, that they want a bunch of things done, or they suggest changes, we would be hard pressed to fund those within a reasonable amount of time if they're significant. At the same time, we've got a 12-year-old plan that was never acted on anyway. More than one plan. We had that audit that we did previously too. The concern that I have too is I'm content with the current board, what we've accomplished, and the way things are going, and I would love to set the tone for post-election year, if you will, by having a solid plan in place that whomever comes aboard, will be able to embrace, and there's less ambiguity. I think that's critical. And have the staff and everyone engaged, along with, most importantly, the community, so that there's less ambiguity this election cycle as far as the what ifs go, because their voice has been heard, confirmed, and we're actually acting on it this time with 6 months left, by handling proper appropriations and things for the coming year. So in that regard, I'm supportive of it. And I think it equips Bill, Mr. Cowan, with some new tools and resources to really help him take a deep breath and calibrate and get his staff planning, his, the future, a grasp on the future of one of his two departments. So one of the most consistent talking points we have, or the longest, I guess, dialogue we've engaged in since I've started, has revolved around parks and that type of thing. It's one of the touch points in our community that also, in my experience, majority of people are really sensitive about green space and parks, and the folks that aren't are sensitive about, from a conservative standpoint, they don't want to go overboard, et cetera. So I a fair topic. And I think bringing in a third party to be objective and benchmark our township against other communities. Let us know, what's going on. We've talked about a lot of new things this past year with, pickleball, with the water table, the different options, and we're seeing changes in other communities and that kind of thing. So experts typically can help folks in leadership roles navigate those types of challenges. So I'll support this.
And I think getting our trail plan completed is something that feels like it's been pending for quite some time. And I know there's a lot of desire to see our trails finally be completed and come together.
Well, I think, with that too, Trustee Rivers, part of the reason that we've struggled with completing one specific workload is because we have so many competing workloads and a limited staff. So again, having the ability to leverage a consultant that also harnesses. The one thing about this specific vendor I liked is most of their resources are in-house. So they're not coordinating with 18 other, entities. They're bringing resources to the table, and they have more in-house capability and a really good reputation. So I'm hoping that that will be more efficient and of value to Mr. Cowan. But help us and help him develop a more manageable kind of take the shotgun blast and pick a couple rifle shots, if you will, that we can dial in on. Trails is obviously one with limited resources, and figure out where we might be able to strategically pause and reallocate. So I agree with that.
I
Can
actually
I
don't
just
think
chime
there's
in? I'm
been a year-
sorry.
I don't think that there's been a year that we haven't been building a trail. That seems to be pretty constant.
Yep.
Nobody else concerned about the dollar amount on that?
But that's what I was
I
just
am.
trying to chime in. If I could chime in, I know I don't have a dog in this fight, but I just want to make sure everybody's very clear that we're having to take this money from his trail paving program. So he has $5,000 left basically to pave trails for next year. And right now we may be coming back to the board based on his level of spend over the last 60 days, just the last 6 months. We may be coming back and having to revise down his appropriations because we may not have the carryover that I was projecting. So I just want to set the stage from a financial overview.
I don't think we will be able to. I'm not. Then I think the best course of action would be to table this for this meeting, and we'll have to.
Well, I know we padded a lot of different things as far as the different funds for parks. So there may be needs for moving some money around. We definitely don't want to take away from the paving program, but I think as far as long-term costs, we'd end up being a greater expense in the long term by delaying this versus having it done now.
So
I have to agree with Trustee Rivers that this plan will help us to avoid the situation we're in today, actually.
today, yeah, that's what I was referring to with the shotgun blast. We're stretched too thin. We need
going
to
to
make
help
some
us
rifle shots.
Really identify.
Bill,
But
I'm not saying it's your budget. The trustees have to approve the budget. So I'm
Sure.
not putting anything off on you as far as what
Oh,
you're
no.
spending.
well, I'm gonna do that with the suggestion that we table for just this meeting, simply because if we can, because I think with the concerns and fiscal officer Kraft, you do have a dog in the fight, and you brought it. So you shared that, and I appreciate it. I think what we need to do is pause and review the fiscal concerns, and then work with Bill. And I'm happy to do that as a liaison. I can come in this week or next week, and we can sit down and look at where we would want to move things so that we're clear and transparent with not only the collective board, but the community. If there is an opportunity cost or an offset. Is that fair? Is that fair, Bill?
Oh, absolutely. However you want to proceed with this, I just want to mention what Fiscal Officer Kraft said about the trail paving. And again, it's just a situation where maintenance needs to be done, and we were looking at doing some recoating of a lot of our asphalt trail again this year, as we did last year. We got a lot of work done with those and turned out really good. That's just part of the maintenance, and that's what, again, I refer to the 10-year master plan. That's the type of thing that would be called out
Taken
and
into account, correct.
help us
But-
budget.
If I could cut in here real quick, number one, we need to make sure we have enough funds to maintain the parks.
Yeah.
Not just keep building. Number two, and I did mention this to Andrew, we have those care funds. And I know the bathroom is very expensive at North Road Park. And, you know, we do everything touchless, so forth. Some of those funds could be used to build the bathroom. That's a place to find some funds.
Sure. I think that we could probably find funding and do that effectively to make sure that, you know, what Bill's saying and all of the comments here are respected. But I would, for sake of fiscal responsibility, I think the best course of action personally is that we just, we meet following this meeting to just double check the numbers and make those decisions and then present that to the collective board at the very next meeting, or even if we talk to the vendor and there needs to be a special meeting where we go over what we discussed specific to this request and the fiscal concern associated with it, so that we're making a responsible decision. If that makes sense?
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, so then we'll pull 27 back and table the Brandstetter Carroll 10-year master plan for parks with the intent of addressing it at the very next meeting. Okay. So moving over to zoning, Ms. Bonnie. Is this where I kick it to you, or is this where I would just go through these resolutions?
Well, I can give a brief overview of our current status of our members, if that's okay, Trustee Garnbowles. So as far as the zoning commission goes, we do have 2 members that have asked to resign from the commission. I did speak with each of them, which is Todd Dove and Barrett Alt, and I've asked them to at least keep their term effective to the end of this month, only because they are both on a pending application that should be wrapped up in the next few weeks. And then if you want me to continue with the other positions, as far as the Board of Zoning Appeals, we talked to Kelvin Treffs. He has only fulfilled a partial term, and he has interest in serving a full term with the Board of Zoning Appeals. And as far as Christine Chabelis, as a regular member on the Zoning Commission, we have asked her to fulfill a second term with the commission, and she has sought interest in that as well. And that's all I have as far as the members go.
Okay. Make the motion to accept resolution 21-027, accepting the resignation of zoning commission member Todd Dove.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes, and I'd also would like to point out that Mr. Dove is a long-term zoning commission member. He brought a lot of wisdom to the position. He was always somebody I could count on to call and talk to and ask questions. And he absolutely will be sorely missed from the board.
Mr. Rivers,
Yes.
Make the motion to approve resolution 21-028, accepting the resignation of zoning commission alternate member Barrett Alt.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Make the motion to approve Resolution 21-029, appointing Kelvin Treffs as a regular member of the Orange Township Board of Zoning Appeals.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Make the motion to approve Resolution 21-030, appointing Christine Trevellis as a regular member to the Orange Township Zoning Commission.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Right.
Um,
Mr.
I'm
Cowan, this brings us to the,
Sorry, Trustee Grumbles, if I can add one more thing to my zoning report.
sure.
I just wanted to also share my thanks for Todd Duff and Barrett Alt on serving on the zoning commission. We made a comment of that at the zoning commission meeting last night, but again, I appreciate their service. And I'm happy to hear that Kelvin Treffs and Christine Trevellis are willing to continue serving on our board. And just for the trustees' knowledge, with these resolutions that were just passed, we will have 2 positions open for the zoning commission. I am currently talking to a few individuals that have sought interest, and hopefully we'll have some appointment recommendations at the next trustee meeting. Thank you.
And just a note that Barrett Alt also has a long history with the township, a lot of volunteering, a lot of organizing for our events, and she absolutely is appreciated also. I appreciate her service.
All right, Mr. Cowan, maintenance report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did not submit a report for the board
Nope.
to take a look at, but if I may, just briefly, I was off during the holidays, but we did have a couple of snow events. I want to thank our maintenance folks for being out there and keeping our roads clear. They were out Christmas Eve and Christmas morning as well, plowing and salting. So I can't thank them enough for that. The park report, the renovation at the Township Hall is coming along quite well. I don't know if you've been at the new entryway. It's really looking nice. Plumbers were in yesterday and today working on the hands-free items for all of our restrooms and our sinks and things like that. So that's moving along as well. I will have a report at the next meeting for the board to take a look at. So,
And I won't ask you for a report when it's blank in the future. I'll make note of
that's
it.
quite all right.
But I am glad I did, because I did pass along to you, and I believe Mr. King, some gratitude shared on social media for the work done by our maintenance crew regarding the snow. I think, I was out on the roads, and you could tell when you left Orange Township. And it wasn't a good tell. It was a bad tell. So they were on top of it. They did a nice job, and it was so nice to see the residents expressing gratitude for the team here. And I wanted to make sure that they knew that. So I hope that was shared by Mr. James and the leadership over there with the team. And the entryway does look great. I couldn't believe how it went from the drywall sitting on the floor to being completed. That was pretty impressive. I talked with one of the vendors, I believe Monday, and they were great working on the door. So congratulations on getting that pretty much wrapped up, and well done.
Listen, there are a lot of people involved with that. And I'm not taking credit for that. I just want to let you know.
No, I'm extending that to them, not you, Bill.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think the whole team did well. I know that I had spoken with Dick Ray a few times over the past year regarding the entryway, and I know he shared a lot of value, and the group did. So,
Yeah.
And I know Mr. King has been working a lot behind the scenes on
Oh, absolutely. Yep.
getting all this
A lot of
stuff
people.
done. So
Yep.
appreciate your help.
Thank you.
All right. Public safety. Is Captain Rice with us?
Yes, sir.
All right.
The only thing I had tonight is to ask to declare the 24 mattresses that we have replaced to be donated to the Furniture Bank of Central Ohio. and also accept the resignation of Brandon Sims Clark as of December 23rd, 2020. And he's also requested to return as a part-time. I'm sorry, the Brandon Sims Clark was supposed to be on the consent section. And finally, the acceptance of donations of gift cards directly to the firefighters from the Park Place residents.
Okay, yeah, and they sent a note. Some residents did send a note about dropping off some gifts. It was nice to see that. I appreciated that gesture. It was the resignation on the consent agenda. I didn't. If it is, I want to make sure.
I thought it was on the consent agenda.
It is not.
Okay.
I didn't see it there.
I didn't either. That's why I brought it up. So we'll put another resolution on there.
Okay.
And
Trustee Grumbles, I had mentioned this because I didn't necessarily know, I didn't know who was going to be chair. So I mentioned this to Trustee Rivers sometime today. Since we're moving Brandon Sims Clark from a full-time to a part-time position, I think, and if the board feels differently about it, we can do a series of resolutions, but I think as long as there's consensus to move him over to a part-time position, I think we
change
can
the status of his employment.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't know if that formally has to take place, but I'm okay. I give my consent, and I'm not sure what the factors are, but glad that we're able to retain at least a part-time. It might have been that pay change. Right now, there's so much incentive to go part-time, right?
Yeah, right. Part-timers do appreciate the pay increase.
Good. I'm glad that they received that well.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
Are you
We
okay,
have
Trustee
consensus?
Taranto?
Ms.
Yes.
Taranto?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-031, approving the donation of township property to the Furniture Bank of Central Ohio.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Make a motion to approve resolution 21-032, accepting the donation of $600 in gift cards to the firefighters of Orange Township Fire Department.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes.
Ms. Taranto?
Yes.
Mr. Rivers?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer Kraft.
Okay, I will keep this relatively short. An update on CARES, the CARES Act funds. I think you've all seen my my emails that were nothing like the last minute, but they did extend our ability to use those funds through December 31st of this year. I still did need to file an activity report, and I guess I need to change Mr. Grumbles. You'll now be our responsible for the grant. I'll change from Mr. Rivers to you. I'm responsible for the reporting, and you're just the overall contact. So you may see emails coming from OBM for that. But we do have about $360,000 now that we can review how we want to spend. So I'm sure Andrew will be meeting we're talking to you three, as well as the department heads, on ways we can use that for our COVID mitigation expenses.
So from a COVID mitigation standpoint, does encouraging socially distanced outdoor activities such as trails, is that
that's something I can send. I can send that over to legal and ask the question.
But hey, let's ask anyway, right? Is there a way we can leverage it for parks to be safe or what have you?
I can send that one over. We're working on closing out POs and blankets over the next week. Todd has really taken the bull by the horns on doing on kind of doing the day-to-day. We did close out, and I know I mentioned this to Bill and to Andrew. We had encumbered funds of about 100, in total of about 300,000 from 2017 and 18 that have not been able to be used because they continue to be encumbered. So we did close those out. So we'll have that money available for 2021. So that's good news. The working on reconciling the accounts, the way the book close works, we have this huge checklist of stuff we have to do. So I'm guessing we will officially close the books towards the end of this month. They have to be closed by the end of February. So I'm assuming that we'll be around the end of January by the time we get through the necessary items. I will be working with the team on 2021 goal planning, and I'd like to understand from the board if you guys have some specific goals that the fiscal office can align and support. I don't know if you guys are going to do a formal goal setting topic at an upcoming meeting to determine the township goals, but if so, please just kind of keep us in the loop so we can make sure we align to support those. And that's all I've got.
The one thing I'll just mention, Trustee Grumbles, with the CARES dollars is we mentioned this at a previous meeting and we thought we were out of time. So we kind of let it drop, but then we picked it back up. We did sort of resume looking at the pool facilities for possible upgrades, particularly the entrance exits, being able to space people out, being able to, touchlessly scan people in, all that kind of stuff. So that was one project that we ran out of time for, but since we thought now we're going to have more time, I think we'll get some more information on that in the future. So I just wanted to mention that.
I would encourage any way to improve accountability at the entry, and do so efficiently and safely, right? So that would be great.
Okay. And I just, because I know everyone wants, the long meeting wants to go, I'll just sort of say, since I kind of stole the floor here, is that it was a great end of the year. I appreciated working with everyone this year. I think we've got some good opportunities going in the new year's. There's obviously some ongoing projects, and, I appreciate everyone from, my department heads on down being willing to embrace the change, to do things differently, to, and some people question it, and then we have a good conversation about it. So I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that for the great year, and hopefully we have another good year ahead.
I'd echo that. I've been here for a year, and I think we've all grown during that time and had certainly some unique challenges, and to see the departmental growth from the department heads has been awesome, and to see them really take over their roles and responsibilities and the environment we're in, despite getting a couple of I guess uppercuts that were out of their control, if you will, and take those in stride was nice. And I also mentioned this to him in person today, but I can't thank Captain Rice enough for bringing his personal leadership into the and stepping up to the chief role, and really appreciate that. I know that's not an easy role or easy task. Did offer to support administratively with analytics and such that I can offer, but knowing that he's kind of wearing two hats, if you will, in that regard. But really appreciate that. It's never easy to do when you're stepping up to something, especially considering the proximity to retirement plans and so forth. So most people try and go out into a retirement position quietly versus taking on a promotional role. So it says a lot about you as a leader and your character And again, I want to publicly recognize you. I did that today in private, and I really appreciate what you've done and how you're doing it, more importantly. So thank you again for that. And Ms. Kraft, I do think the goal setting is appropriate. I plan to work with Mr. Cowan. I assume that the other liaisons will do the same with regard to their teams. And I do plan to speak to the other departments too about it, in line with kind of what Trustee Taranto was indicating, where we're all in it together and have a vested interest as elected officials in doing that. But I do think it would be meaningful to have in a meeting either this month or early February where we discuss where we've come to in terms of those goals and what we would like to accomplish. So putting that out there as such. Is there any other comments before we conclude?
I do not.
Okay, make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mr. Grumbles,
Yes.
Ms. Taranto,
Yes.
Mr. Rivers.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Debbie.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Good
Happy
evening.
birthday.